Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, the state auditor says his review of Kentucky State University's finances revealed a mess. But what happens next?
And the Federal Reserve is raising interest rates, continuing to tackle inflation. How the move impacts your wallet and the potential added pressure on the nation's banks.
And the pattern's getting more active as we head towards spring's first weekend. The breakdown coming up as Mountain News at 5:30 starts right now.
Dedicated to Southern and Eastern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News at 5:30.
Good evening, I'm Steve Hensley.
And I'm Olivia Calfee. A big financial mess at Kentucky State University.
That's the findings of a special examination. Auditor Mike Harmon released those results today.
WYMT's Phil Pendleton has more about what happened and what's being done to fix the problems.
The audit took a look at finances over 3 years from 2018 to 2021.
But certainly, it is a tone at the top that we have to make sure we adjust. And once again, so thankful that KSU leadership is here today.
That's interim president Dr. Ronald Johnson, who stood beside Harmon as he detailed more than 20 findings, including poor record keeping, questionable spending, and improper accounting of millions in federal funds that might have to be paid back.
As a fiduciary, it is the sole responsibility of that individual to make sure that other people's monies are protected.
Part of this audit details how former university officials, including the former president, received some things they really should not have, including bonuses and benefits. Harmon says Kentucky's Constitution does not allow spending of public money on bonuses.
Finding 10 also details how KSU paid more than $138,000 in bonuses to select administrators in fiscal year 2020 and 2021.
The audit comes a year after Kentucky lawmakers passed a bill to earmark $23 million to bail out the university. Johnson says they need to restore students and donors' trust.
To assure them that what we are doing is in line with standard practice, and that we have, and even in advance of these findings, began to make a considerable amount of change.
Harmon says the findings are also being sent to the Kentucky Attorney General and the U.S. Attorney's Office. Frankfort, Phil Pendleton, WYMT Mountain News.
The auditor is recommending the university board and new president make numerous changes, and how state lawmakers may need to pass more laws as well.
It's been a cloudy day throughout the region today, and that's kept temperatures on the cooler side, especially compared to yesterday. We still remain at 50 from our Pikeville Medical Center camera at this hour. We continue to see temperatures in the 50s region-wide. Starting to see some milder air, though, into portions of the Cumberland Valley as we've started to see some clouds break up out there. We will continue to see changes in the forecast as we head through tonight. At least some changes. Temperature, not one of them. We're holding steady as we head through tonight. We'll continue to see mostly cloudy skies during the overnight hours, and you notice an uptick in those temperatures as we head towards daybreak. Yeah, that is going to happen as we see warmer air push in. I'll have the details on that and when the showers and storms even move in. That's all in a few minutes. Guys?
Thank you, Evan. The Federal Reserve had a tough choice to make during its two-day meeting in Washington. Raise interest rates in order to combat inflation or keep them the same in order to ease the stress on banks and the economy.
CBS's Skylar Henry is in Washington, D.C. with their decision.
The Federal Reserve announced it's raising interest rates by 1/4 percentage point to combat inflation.
We are committed to restoring price stability, and all of the evidence says that the public has confidence that we will do so, that we'll bring inflation down to 2% over time.
With the upheaval in the banking system, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said the Fed considered leaving rates unchanged, but settled on a lower rate increase.
In principle, as a matter of fact, you can think of it as being the equivalent of a rate hike, or perhaps more than that. Of course, it's not possible to make that assessment today with any precision whatsoever.
Higher interest rates means it'll cost more to borrow money. That could cause some banks to pull back on loans, putting further strain on the economy.
If banks pull back on their lending and borrowing is lessened and individuals and businesses have less money to spend in the economy, we could see a slowdown that would lead to a recession.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen defended the recent decision to rescue even the uninsured depositors at 2 recently failed banks.
We took actions to protect all depositors at the 2 failed institutions and provide additional liquidity for banks. This was designed to mitigate risks to the banking system.
Chair Powell acknowledged that the banking upheaval would likely result in less lending and higher unemployment. Skyler Henry, CBS News, Washington.
Fed officials forecast they'll have to raise rates another 1/4 percentage point later this year, peaking at about 5 to 5.25 percentage points. That is in line with what was estimated in December, but lower than what Chairman Powell was predicting just 3 weeks ago, prior to the banking crisis.
TickTock CEO will testify before the House Energy and Commerce Committee tomorrow. The CEO is expected to tell lawmakers the app's parent company, ByteDance, is not an agent of China. He is trying to avert a government ban on TikTok. More than 150 million Americans use the app every month, but lawmakers are concerned it poses a threat to national security. The Federal Aviation Administration is calling on airlines to address several recent close calls on or near runways. The FAA has released an aviation safety call to action. It urges carriers to reinforce adherence to published processes and procedures. So far this year, there have been several close calls on U.S. runways, among them a 737 and a 777 that nearly collided at New York's John F. Kennedy Airport back in January.
The CEO of Norfolk Southern returned to Capitol Hill to face more questions on the railroad's safety record.
Residents in East Palestine, Ohio continue to deal with the fallout from last month's fiery derailment that has put the focus on how dangerous chemicals are transported. CBS's Nicole D'Antonio has the story from Washington.
I'm here to put a face on this disaster.
Misty Allison traveled from Ohio to describe the February night her community will never forget.
I could see a huge fireball from my driveway. My 7-year-old has asked me if he is going to die from living in his own home.
Since the toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio senators have joined forces on a bipartisan Railway Safety Act, an effort to enforce tougher regulations.
They compromise safety, cut costs to boost profits. The communities along their route be damned.
Senators grilled Norfolk Southern CEO on what went wrong.
Why did the second hot box reading not trigger action?
Senator, my understanding is that that second reading was still below our alarm threshold.
Alan Shaw said he supports safety reforms like increased training and phasing out older railway cars, but stopped short of other commitments.
Will you commit to supporting legislation requiring at least 2-person crews on all freight trains?
Senator, we'll commit to using research and technology to ensure the railroad operates safely.
Ohio's governor has assured East Palestine the community is safe, but told lawmakers it's up to Norfolk Southern to make things right.
It was their train, their tracks, their accident. They're responsible for this tragedy.
In East Palestine, residents and responders continue to report headaches, congestion, and anxiety. They say with home values plummeting, even those who want to leave the community are stuck. Nicole D'Antonio, CBS News, Washington.
Norfolk Southern says it has distributed $24 million to support the community of East Palestine and that there is more to come.
A school shooting at a Denver high school Wednesday left 2 adult faculty members wounded. Denver Mayor Michael Hancock says one victim was rushed to surgery and is in critical condition. The other is stable and able to talk about what happened. Police say the shooting happened at East High School. Paramedics were on the school campus responding to a student medical issue when the shooting occurred. The police chief says the male suspect, who is a student under 18, was on a safety plan.
This particular student actually had a safety plan that was in place where they were to be searched at the beginning of the school day every day. They had been searched previously to today and had never had a weapon on them before. However, today, during that search, which took place away from other students, away from other school staff, they did produce that weapon and fire shots.
Police say he did run away from the scene this morning and a citywide search began shortly after. Coming up on Mountain News at 5:30, have you received a strange text from a number you don't recognize? Why experts say spam texts are on the rise, and tips to keep your money safe.
Plus, changes continue to work into the region this week. We're breaking it all down coming up after this.
WYMT News app offers alerts on breaking stories as they happen.